we're looking at today is discrimination prevention at work. Okay?
Okay.
What is discrimination? Can you tell me?
To treat someone in an unfair way based on something, a characteristic of theirs.
Okay. What kind of characteristic?
Age, gender, race, any type.
Due to, you said age?
Age, gender, race.
Race.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not it. Racist.
Okay. Do you want this light on? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Can you give me an example of somebody being treated unfairly due to age?
Say an old person would be told that their opinion isn't valid because maybe they're old and that they they can't think as well as they used to be able to.
Okay. Very good. Okay. You must give her a chance as well. He's like a computer. Okay. And gender, do you understand what gender means?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gender is like being a female and
Okay. Okay. So now can you give me an example of how somebody can be treated unfairly because of gender?
Okay. They can be untreated unfairly because of gender because maybe they will see maybe I am a woman and I can't do that part of work, maybe to building houses, maybe they're treating somebody badly because of that.
Okay.
They see you as you can't do that. But
Because you're a woman.
yeah, because you're a woman.
Not because you can't do it. Maybe you can do it better than a man, yeah?
Yeah.
Is discrimination bad?
No.
Okay. You're going to have to justify why you say that. Why do you say it's bad? Discrimination.
Because you're judging someone against something that they have no control over. Because no one has control of their age, their skin, their gender, yeah.
Okay, anything else? Age, gender, skin. We've got age and gender there. I'll just say skin to skin color. Skin color relates to, obviously, to race or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other reason why you think discrimination is bad? Think in a broader sense now of discrimination.
It's impossible to say that one person isn't effective in any way and to treat them differently because you don't know that one specific thing that you're basing them on is can be specifically sent out to all types of that type of person. So all people are stupid, or white people can't drive or something like that. Anything that like to that degree.
Okay, so you're seeing discrimination completely in a negative sense.
Not necessarily. If there's someone that says something in a way and their actions are based in some specific direction, I think discrimination in viewing upon their actions is fine because then it's more of a you're building onto what they're doing and trying to help them in that degree.
So in a way, you're saying that discriminating is like being able to tell the difference between certain things.
It can be. It's just I think it would be a different way of saying a different word for constructive criticism.
Okay.
To use it like that.
Or for distinguishing between
Yeah.
certain aspects.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say discrimination is not bad. And you're going to say, oh, what's going on here? Okay, all right. Discrimination I'm talking a broader sense. Discrimination is telling the difference between things, which is what he touched on now. Okay? If you can discriminate, if for example, you have to tell that there's a difference between the green here and the green higher up, okay, then you have if you've got a strong power of discrimination because that green is shaded, you'll be able to say, okay, that I can see the difference, okay. So discrimination in a broader sense is being able to know the difference between things. Okay. right? So discriminating between someone who is qualified for a job and who is either not qualified or underqualified is not wrong. So do you understand that statement, Toby?
Yeah, I understand.
So can you explain to us what that means? Like, say somebody's in a job interview. How can you say that somebody who's qualified and somebody who's not qualified, if you discriminate between those two, is that wrong or is that right?
To discriminate both those two because of their
Qualification. Yeah. Let's say you've got two people.
Mm.
We're going to talk about two black people now.
Yeah.
Who've come for a job.
Yes.
They've got the same qualification.
Yes.
But the one is similar qualification. The one is slightly more qualified than the other.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you otherwise their personalities and the way you see them as a potential in your company, you see, no, these guys are okay.
Yeah.
So I can choose one or the other.
Yeah.
But now if I say, okay, this one's slightly more qualified, he's going to do a slightly better job. If I choose that one who's slightly qualified,
Yes.
am I wrong to do that?
No, you are not wrong.
Why not?
That. Because that person is qualifying for that position, so he will do all the right things.
Okay.
Yeah. He knows maybe a little bit of that position, so he will be an input in the company.
Okay, now let's give another example.
Yeah.
The same people, same scenario.
Mm.
The one who is better qualified, they're both male, blacks.
Yeah.
The one who's better qualified is like slightly cheeky and that in the interview. And then the one who's interviewing is saying, I'm not sure that this one's going to fit so nicely for us.
Yeah.
And then the one who's interviewing is deciding maybe he's going to take the one that's less qualified.
Mm.
Okay. Is that right or wrong?
I think it's right.
You, Cameron, what do you think?
It's correct because you're basing them on the skills that the person has and not on the undeterminable skills that the person can try out.
Okay, so it's basically you're saying things you can't change. And things you can change. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what thing can he change in that instance I've just given you there?
Qualification and then his personality traits in which he projects himself as cocky. Sorry.
As what?
As cocky. So
Yeah. Okay. So discriminating against someone who's qualified for a job because they're old, black, or Muslim is wrong. Okay. Can you give me an example or an explanation why discriminating on the basis of religion is wrong? Somebody who's qualified, okay, and then you say, well, but because he's a Muslim, I'm not sure if I'm going to take him. And there's the other guy, maybe the one who's interviewing is a Christian, and he says he's got 3 people already who've got the same qualification, but they're Christian. But the Muslim guy is slightly more, or the Muslim lady is slightly more qualified, and actually she's very pleasant, and the other ones is not too sure of. But if he says, no, I'm going to choose from the Christian ones, okay, tell me about that scenario.
No, he's discriminating against an entire culture based on possibly things that he does because he doesn't believe in that. He doesn't want to hire someone who's believing in a different entity that he does.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and on as far as race is concerned?
He's discriminating on that because of the skin color.
Okay, but give me an example. I'm going to give you an example and you can tell me about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a black lady and a white lady.
Yeah.
Who are coming for, and I'm just talking about interviews. It can be already working in the company and who must be given like a job or a promotion or something within the company. So this is just an example. You can give me any other example. There can be examples out. It can be, for example, somebody who's coming into a shop to be served by somebody. So now here comes the black lady and the white lady, and the one behind the counter. I'm not saying that one is black or white, but that one is maybe going to automatically go to the white lady first. See, tell me about that.
Okay. I don't know how to explain it.
Okay, do you want to say something about it?
It would be treating someone unfairly based on preferentially treating someone more fairly than the other person just because he wanted to serve someone maybe his own skin color if it was a white person. Maybe he wanted to serve someone else.
Again, let's just say, for example, if the person who was serving was a black person and he still chose the white person, but the black person was standing slightly forward and had been there first, the white person came afterwards, lady, and he still served the white lady.
If it's based in South Africa, due to the past with like apartheid, that was sort of like the norm back then, as far as I understand it. So like it could also be like something that was drilled into his mind after so long working there, or something that he thought like this is the norm. I was supposed to serve the white person first, and even though that's completely changed now.
But is it right?
No, not really.
And why isn't it right?
Because we are all equal. We are all the same.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is race, age, religion, gender, or any other group-based discrimination legal in South Africa? Any other group? You've already mentioned these things, but I want to know, is it legal in South Africa? Or is there a law against it?
You can't say it's illegal, but you can't say it's not legal because...
Okay, is it right?
It's not right.
Okay,
yeah.
So, but now we're talking about the law. Is there a law that says you can or you can't?
No, there's no law.
There's no law. What do you say?
I don't think there's a law, but I don't know. There's more like societal pressure around it now, I think.
Okay.
I'm not certain.
Okay, so I'll just say not sure. Okay, so race discrimination and discrimination on any other basis, such as age, religion, gender, has been illegal in South Africa since 1996, with the adoption of the new South African Constitution.
Oh.
So if you go, I mean, not everybody knows that, as you see now. But if you go, do either of you have a little South African Constitution? Do you have a pocket one or whatever?
No.
Okay, but I mean, if you Google it, you can see it and you can print it out for yourself. Which is quite a good idea to do.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, you must just ask me because we're going to see how many pages it is first.
Okay.
Otherwise, we might have to look at the cost involved. But obviously, you can read it online.
Yeah.
So, if you look in the Constitution, there's wording that says virtually exactly that. Okay, that you are not allowed to discriminate on any of those bases. Okay, so it is illegal. If you do discriminate on that, and it's something that you can prove, and it's especially if it's like quite severe, okay, you can even make a court case of that, okay, because the law stands up for you. Does discrimination still persist? Okay, so we know it's illegal. But we want to know, does it still persist or exist in South African society and in the South African workplace today? Is it still here? It used to be there. He talked about apartheid days and everything. It's been made illegal. So because it's illegal, now it can't exist anymore. Is that right or is that wrong?
But it does exist with other places. As he mentioned,
Speak.
As he mentioned that on the shop, maybe I go to KFC, for example, to buy some okay, some takeaway. And then I come first, and then there's a white guy after me. They will stay serve the white guy that is after me.
And have you had that happen to you before?
Yeah.
In KFC?
In KFC, not this one, the other one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first and then served after, ne?
Yeah, they serve after.
That's not good publicity for KFC. Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, their staff the staff has to be trained in something, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to comment on anything there, Cameron?
No, that's right.
Okay. So it still persists in South African society, discrimination in the South African workplace. Leka, Lake, and Gomo. When you see something like this, it means that these guys have done research on it and they've written a paper on it. And when they do the research and do a paper, it can actually, maybe they've gone out and they've interviewed like 3,000 people or something, and asked specific questions, and then they've collated the information and they've come up with like either numerical data or qualitative data, and then they've produced a paper or whatever, which actually you can say in a way proves that it still exists. But maybe they went to, if say they interviewed somebody like you, and they asked you, did you ever go into a shop and did you ever get served non-preferentially and somebody else in front of you, that kind of thing, you see. So at any rate, these guys have done research on it. And then, although it may be more covert or subtle now than before, and then et al. Are the, that's Latin, which means and others. So this person Robbins and this person Jones, they're completely separate guys in terms of their research. They researched in 2016 and they in 2017. So it means that Robbins and his colleagues and Jones and his colleagues also have looked into the matter, and they've either expressed an opinion of that or they've done research on it. Okay, so what does it mean when we say that it could be more covert, and why do you think it's more covert or subtle now than before?
Because it's illegal now, so doing it nowadays would probably land you in jail if you did it openly.
Yeah. Okay, so can you give an example of how discrimination could be more covert or more subtle? Do you know what covert and subtle means? Can you explain?
Yeah, it's basically like it's not very easy to see that it's happening because people are doing it in ways so that they don't like express externally like what they are doing. So they make it more like quietly so that no one actually knows that they've done it.
Okay, and I could maybe give an example of, say, in interviewing. Let's say we've got a black and white applicant again, because it's easy to talk about the race discrimination because it used to be in the past.
Yeah.
And let's say they're both equally qualified. Okay, and in fact, the black person is better from a social point of view, speaks actually nicer and has a more pleasant personality. So if the black person was white, the white one who's interviewing would have chosen that one. But because that one is black, he's saying to himself, but he's going to choose the white one, but he's going to tell the black one that something, and then he does notice that something about maybe the matric certificate or something, he saw maybe the maths, they needed maths for that particular job, say. Maybe the maths was maybe a D, or that's not bad for matric necessarily, because matric maths is hard. But maybe this one had a C or a B. And so in his mind, he's saying that can be, so he doesn't tell the black lady, say for example, that he's comparing anybody. He's just saying, I'm sorry, you weren't successful for the job because your maths wasn't good enough. But when he did a test with them on the maths, when he did a test of adding and stuff, because normally you can have like a computerized thing that people can do just before, as part of an interview, he saw that she was fine. She was just as good as the other one. So it didn't actually make a difference. So now what he's going to say is he should have chosen the black lady if she was white, because he liked her in all the other respects. But because he was discriminating, he chose the white lady. Now that's covert, because the thing is, he's not going to tell anybody about that, the one who's interviewing. Yeah. He's keeping that to himself. But if the black lady says, no, I want to know why I wasn't chosen, because you told me I was good and I passed everything, whatever, he's got his excuse, and even if it went to court, say for example, which it probably wouldn't, but if it did, he can still say, look, there's the maths thing. But that is like a cover. He's actually being dishonest about that. You understand? Because it's not really a valid reason. Do you think it's a valid reason, Cameron?
No.
Why not?
It's more you're supposed to base people on their qualifications and how they are presented to you in the thing. And if they do meet all of expectations, but you can see that they've maybe improved on those from previously when they did the exam.
Yeah.
Then you should maybe reevaluate and evaluate it from a different perspective.
Be open-minded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, how can you stop discrimination? I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write it down now. So this is where your pen comes in, pen and paper. 2 minutes to write it down. If you want to talk about it between the two of you, if you want to ask a question of each other, you can. Yeah. Just write down, say 2 or 3 or maybe 4 things that you can think of how to stop it.
Okay.
I'll be with you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Still need some time?
A little bit more time.
Okay. Got a few things.
Got two.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, tell me, give me one.
Okay.
How can
I
you-
said we can stop discrimination by seeing everyone around us. Okay.
By? Just,
By treating everyone around us equally.
okay. Okay. Cameron?
Identifying discriminative actions by friends or colleagues and project them onto them why it cannot be accepted.
So say it again.
Identi-
Speak a bit louder.
Identifying discriminative actions by friends or colleagues and projecting onto them why it cannot be accepted to be act that way in a social environment.
Okay. And when you say projecting, would you mean like, say, explaining or talking to them about?
Talking to them or even showing them by how you treat people, just like
By like example.
by example.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay. By not judging a person because of their race.
Okay. So, don't judge. I use the math symbol for because.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with it? Okay. Don't judge because of race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because of race. Okay.
Cameron?
My last one's sort of on the same lines as the other.
It's okay, just tell me what it is.
It just says ensure that you do not allow yourself to, ensure that you do not allow yourself to let external characteristics of someone cause you to view them with a negative mind frame.
Okay. So basically, it's almost like reflecting upon things and thinking about things.
Yeah.
Learning, actually pondering certain things in order to try and not do.
Yeah,
Not discriminate.
Not just basing your views on your eyes instead of just using your mind.
Yeah.
So not using what you can visually see about a person to determine what they are.
Okay. You're gonna have to help me put that into like a couple of words.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just,
Okay, so the word ponder just stays with me. Pondering, pondering true aspects of a person or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, anything else that you can think of? Ways to stop discrimination.
I don't know if this one is gonna.
Tell
Okay.
me.
By not undermining each other because of the qualifications. I'm not sure.
But not undermining each other.
Because of qualifications. Yeah.
Okay. So, what to say? Don't undermine.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the qualifications. You can undermine somebody about anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're going to basically, in order to do all of this, we have to. One thing we're going to have to learn to do is to listen. Is to listen to other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
To basically, there's like different kinds of listening. Somebody's talking to you, and you can hear what they're saying, and then that's all that you hear. But you are thinking about something else. You're not concentrating, and you're not really. If you look at the person and you listen carefully and actively at at what somebody is talking to you about, then you get the full communication of what's happening. You can see their facial expression, you can see all of that is communication. So to listen to somebody, then you can basically almost look into their minds and into their hearts, what they are coming to you at. So whether you are black or white or old or young or whatever, you have to be able to understand that person. Okay.
Yeah.
So as far as listening is concerned, what do you think? Which thing here actually fits in more with listening, where you should listen carefully to somebody? Would you say this one here?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, that one and empathizing.
Empathizing.
Yeah, not on the board though.
That's fine. I'll just put the empathizing blue. But that does go strongly with that, because if you're not listening to somebody, you can't really empathize with them. Do you know what empathize is?
No.
Okay. Explain
Just
it.
put yourself in someone else's shoes to like kind of try to put yourself in the same mind frame that they might be in because of like a tragedy they went through. So it's like you can sort of understand what they're going through by doing that.
Oh, okay.
Right, so listening, don't undermine somebody, treat them equally, identify discrimination, be an example, talking about it, don't judge. If you have to learn about somebody, it's all very well listening to somebody. You can listen if you in an office environment, because this is about discrimination at work. So in an office environment, if you're not listening properly to somebody, you're not going to get the right communication. Maybe you're going to misunderstand, and I mean, I've been guilty of that in the past. Okay, doesn't mean I'm discriminating against you, but it just means I've got bad manners. Maybe you understand. I might not be not listening properly to you because I am discriminating against you. It might be for some other reason. Maybe I'm thinking about something else. Maybe I'm in a bad mood because somebody crashed my car. So it's still wrong not to listen correctly, but we're all human and we will make mistakes. But if you know that you've made a mistake and you can maybe talk about it or apologize for it or clear the air, then that is a good thing. So listening to somebody carefully is a very important step as far as that's concerned. And learning about people. Now, how do you see learning about other people? Male, female, young, old, black, white. How do you see learning about other people? How do you see that as important and as an important step to not discriminating against them?
When you start learning of people, not like just because of age and what you listed earlier, when you start listening to them because of their characteristics, not because of their identifying objects.
Okay. Yeah. And also, I think this treating a person equally, if you learn about them, then you're more likely to treat them equally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't undermine. Okay. Now, talking about it means that you have to have an open mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to be open about things. So you can be a person in an environment, and I'm not just talking about a boss and staff, I'm talking about even amongst staff members. You can be a person who's very close-minded. So somebody says, shouldn't we do this, or should we do that, or maybe you can try this with a client, and the person says, no, we don't do it like that, or something. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm.
So to be able to talk about it means that you will be open-minded. And in a sense, it means to have a liberated mind. Liberate your mind. What does liberation mean?
It's to be set free.
To be set free. Okay. All right. So if you're open-minded and you can talk about things, then you basically set your mind free to learn about people, to listen carefully, and those kind of things. Okay. Identifying discrimination. Identifying discrimination is a part of learning about it. Setting an example is a part of, I'm going to write this word because we're going to come to this word on Wednesday. And you say, well, what's love got to do with it? You know. But love is not necessarily lovey-dovey or whatever, smoochy-woochy stuff. It's not necessarily that. That is a part of a person's life in certain aspects, like if you have a romantic relationship with somebody. But what actually is love? Or how can you describe love?
Having feelings for another person, putting them like above yourself, or like caring for someone.
If you care for somebody, all right, if you care for them, and that really revolves around kindness. All right. So, if you care for people and you are kind, then you will show the right example to them. You will, because you are going to be that kind of person that you should be in a situation, and they can learn from you and you can learn from them, and then everybody can basically progress in terms of their thinking, in terms of concentrating on the work. Look, we're here not just to have a nice time and to be kind to each other. We're here to get things done. But one has to have the right atmosphere, and you have to have the right relationships happening in order for that to happen. Okay, so what other aspects on the board here falls into love, would you say? Or kindness? Don't judge because of race, eh?
Yeah.
I know it's a bit arbitrary, putting things where they are, but I mean, these are all just aspects of something. We're looking at the same thing of being a good person in a situation, and then how do you qualify that person as being good? Well, they listen, their mind is liberated and open, they're learning, and they're expressing care towards other people. Okay, so those aspects are all really encapsulated here. Is there anything else you guys want to add to that? Okay. Now, what I'd like you to do, this is a little bit of homework. You can take your papers home with you, and I'd like you just to write that question down if you didn't. Just how can you stop discrimination? And then if you can just search, can you guys do like a Google search at home?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just search on how to stop discrimination, and then think about what you've done today, and what you've mentioned, and what you've discussed, and then come up with anything else. But I'm looking for key words now. Like I like this one here, empathize. Okay. And identifying discrimination. Identifying. So identify, empathize, those kind of things that you think can be like action words that we can use in our lives in order to try and reduce or to prevent discrimination.
Is that preventing external discrimination or internally? So like preventing others from discriminating or preventing yourself from discriminating?
Both. I'd like to hear from you, because this is really basically from an internal thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now you're saying, like, how can you stop somebody from discriminating?
Yeah.
So there could be rules that you could make for it, or whatever the case may be. So it would be good to hear that as well.
Okay.
Okay, guys?
Okay.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.